There are a lot of articles in the excuse me, articles in the newspaper about all sorts of people, particularly professional people, taking yoga and meditation classes. And trying to explain how in these stressful times that can be so helpful to many people. And then there's an article, or maybe I heard it on the radio, but a woman talking about how she has to admit she hates yoga and she hates meditation. And no one's going to convince her that sitting still has any benefit whatsoever in this world. It's a total waste of time, and she's going to stand up for what she believes in. And she was being acknowledged by all these other people. Yeah, who wants to sit still? And you know, I'm trying to look at the overall picture of what is this thing we're selling here, or that we are practicing here, or that we are offering to anybody, and what is the draw? What is it that pulls people toward a practice, or stillness, or letting go of the day and finding a place of collection, quietude? And I really do believe the sales pitch is primarily stress release, dealing with an ability to let go of all the things that are obsessing you. It's a little bit like free Tylenol, or something of that nature, something that can take you to a simpler, quieter place. Maybe something more than Tylenol, I don't know, prescribed pill, Vicodin or something. And I think a lot of people who do this practice are waiting to get something or attain something that will make it worth their while. Why would I bother doing this if it didn't have some benefit to me? And I do think for anybody who sits still for a period of time and tries this, will begin to discover very real benefit. A clearer head, that they are in touch with some really sweet feelings, that there's a calmness that can come over the system when the turbulence is in the environment. You can walk away from a meditation practice, excuse me, feeling sort of grateful to be alive. It's a very nice, comforting quality. But the promise of meditation is so much more. Its journey is so much greater than your sense of temporary well-being, or even permanent well-being. The journey people call it a journey to awakening, to realization, to enlightenment. Without anybody who hears those words really grasping what they might mean, but they figure, okay, if I get that, that'll be great, you know? I mean, or they can really have this obsessiveness of, I want that. I want that awakening. I want that realization. I want that enlightenment. Again, with it being a total projection in your own mind of what that might be or feel like. But as all of you who've listened to my talks know, projecting what that is as something you will end up getting or having is at the core of a basic misunderstanding, which is, you've heard this before, there is no you to awaken. There's no you to become enlightened. There is no you to have a realization of that. The realization is that there's no you. But when that occurs, and I can only speak for me, but I've spoken to a lot of other people, it has similarities to other people's experience, your own awakening, but it is always very much your awakening. It has a particular slant to it, a particular aspect, meaning that it comes through your narrative, your story, your biology, your physicality, the world you inhabit. Suddenly, awakening to what that is will be different in a way for each of us. And trying to find the commonality for that is fine. There are certain commonalities. The fact that you no longer exist as you is one thing when you're sitting in a ghetto in Harlem or wherever the ghettos are today, or whether you're sitting in a palace, or whether you're sitting in a, working in a Best Buy shop, or whatever you're doing. Your awakening will look different, taste different, have another coloration from somebody else's awakening. But the awakening will have the same underlying note that I am this, I am that, and then the corollary, I am not this, I am not that. And there's a very real confusion in that experience. I'm not this, I am this. I am not that, I am that. And your mind, based on where you find yourself, will have to in some way accommodate the fact that you no longer exist as you, and yet you're still here. It's a real dichotomy. Some people maybe have such a complete explosion of personal identity, a kind of complete awakening, that they are no longer related to their body, their mind, their personality, their being. And I suspect many of them are sitting in institutions smiling away, going, feed me, they'll feed me, or whatever, they're just sitting there. Some go into monasteries, and some go to places where you can just sit for long periods of the day because there is nothing to do. Just be, which is really a great arrival at that understanding. But what happens when it takes place and you have children to take care of, a husband or a wife to support, a world around you that is very involved in what and who you are? What do you do with that clarity of, I am no longer the one you see? It is a real, powerful journey, and it has ups and downs and ins and outs all by itself. And what I've come to understand is the only version of that I can articulate is the one this guy has gone through. Because it's not going to be like the one that you guys go through. You will have a completely different take on it, but it will have many similarities. And so my feeling is, if I share this journey with you from the front lines of one person going through something rather remarkable and not all that well documented in the culture, that maybe it could serve as a kind of help, aid for people who really are beginning on that journey, who have suddenly exploded into that journey, or people who want some inspiration to even take that journey. In the last months, parts of that journey for Bruce have become really difficult, and I've found a lot of wonderful sympathizers and empathizers out there writing me saying, I understand, and being unbelievably compassionate and loving. I have found other people who basically go, who needs this guy? He doesn't know who he is or what he's doing. Why pay attention to somebody who confesses that so readily, you know? And I kind of understand that. I think last week's talk was, I don't know who I am or what I'm doing. I think I said that in the exact title of the talk, and I can see people on YouTube just saying, okay, that's so much for that. And I totally get and respect that they want to find someone who knows what they're doing and knows who they are. And I would too, in a certain sense. But I have to tell you, part of the journey, the one I am living through, is that as much as is taken away, there's more that remains. And I know I've talked about this to some degree. But what is taking place at this moment in time, for me, feels like the end game. But I shouldn't say end game, because every time you say that, of course, it's not the end game. It's going to go way beyond that. But I do feel that I have, as I've been told by astrologers, I'm in what's called Neptune conjuncting my sun, which is a 2-year journey, which is, I'm not a big astrologer. I don't disapprove of astrology. I think it actually is brilliant in many ways, but I don't live in accordance with it or plan my days accordingly. But I was looking for some understanding of this, and this is a very rare event. Most people don't have it in their lifetime, but it is an event where it was described to me as the crab loses its shell. You crawl out from under the shell and there is nothing but vulnerability, period. And it's for 2 years. And there is no protection. And there is no place to go. There is no place to hide. There only is. And if you want to feel the world and your body and yourself and your being and your surroundings with great clarity, get rid of the shell. Nobody even knows they have a shell until it starts to go. And even the awakening for me was awakening within that shell. So I was able to walk around feeling like I am one with everything, but I still had a great shell. And it was very comfortable for me. And I could go, okay, I can do this. You know, I still had a career. It was very strange. I mean, I had an awakening, and I still had a movie, a musical opening on Broadway. You know, it was like a very strange phenomenon of stuff happening. But now that things are quieting down, and the shell is either being removed or I am crawling out from underneath it, I am going, this is scary. For who is it scary? For this being, which exists in absolute connection to oneness with all there is. There are no barriers. There are no protections. There is nothing but feeling the breathing, opening, loving, terrified space of the existence of its own truth, its own being. It has it is life and death together. It is happiness and sadness together. It is all experience simultaneously, just mixing and mashing in ways that are undefinable to people who have shells or who have narratives and stories that give them a sense of who they were and what it's about and where they're going. Take all that away, and then there's just this profound nakedness. And in that, there are moments of such unbearable and beautiful experiences of joy and tears, awareness. I cannot watch an authentic movie or read an authentic poem, meaning something that came from somewhere that wasn't manufactured but arose out of someone else's truth. I can't do that without tears welling up, without almost being unable to function because of so much identity with all the world and what's going on. I still watch the news, don't ask why, but every person who suffers at the border, every side of the equation, all of the madness, even people who are ego-driven to the nth degree, I get their suffering. I get it. I get it. I am it. I am that. I am that I am. That, in truth, is the saving grace. I am that I am. And I have to tell you, the thing that acts as a salvation is, when I say I don't know who I am, it does not mean I don't know that I am. The who I am tries to put it in a package. I cannot be packaged. It tries to put it in a shell. It cannot be contained. It tries to put it in some perspective that can be understood. I have not found what can be understood. I have found that I am the mystery itself, unleashed and unprotected. And it's not easy walking the walk, walking through the street, driving around, being in life, going to a birthday party this afternoon. The grandchildren were over last night. They were screaming at each other. And I mean, all of this stuff is going on. And you go, nothing fits. Nothing fits into a description that makes you go, oh. It just goes, it just is. It just is. The grandchildren's fighting made me kind of like, oh, I felt so bad. And then suddenly they were just loving each other again completely. And it was so beautiful. And it's moving around in circles. And I realized that's all it all does. It just all moves in its own particular way. And that every time we want to crystallize it, like I want to take a picture of the kids the moment they're in like perfect bliss. And and they're there for like a tenth of a second, and if I'm the second after, it's gone. But there's this sense of wanting to capture the beauty, and it cannot be captured. And if you do capture it, if you do get it, okay. There are great photographers whose work I really admire, and they really capture that moment, and they remind you that within the magnitude of being, these perfect moments happen, or they're captured. Capturing a moment is like having a happy ending. There's another moment after the happy ending. There's another moment after the perfect moment. The poem that you wrote that captured something ephemeral in your life that could never have been given words to before is now just another page of a book. It just keeps moving on. There is no pulling it together. And so what you have to learn to do is not pull it together and just be, which takes, and we've talked about this, phenomenal surrender and courage and openness, which you cannot will that into being. You cannot will surrender into being. You can ask for help for it. It's at the core of our practice. Help me to surrender. Help me. And what's so powerful about all of this unknowability and something that I cannot describe, I do not understand it at all, but there is help. There is help. And if you ask for it, it will arrive. And you will find it in the subtlest of places, almost as if you have to sit still to really see it having arrived. Because the noise of the world obscures it, and the stillness allows you to perceive it. The help of simple being. And that help, the thing that's so remarkable about it is that when you truly see it in the depth of your own psyche, you realize it's always there. The thing you're looking for and that you need is sitting at the center of who you are. And that when everything else falls away and the shell falls away and the noise falls away and the patterns of busyness fall away and you wake up with nothing to do in the morning and you just are this old person who's decaying into something, God knows what, at the core of that, if you've spent a lifetime looking, you will have already found at the core of that disintegration is the thing that provoked integration. You will find the thing itself that is unspeakable in its magnitude and in its power to ennoble you and grace you with knowing. And it comes down to that. It comes down to this tiny, tiny little spark of something that goes, yes, yes. So here we are, we're sitting in this room trying to get stress-free and deal with the elections and the non-elections and the people who are, unemployed right now. I mean, all these things that are going on. And in the magnitude of all that, which is really big, there is something that happens when you get very quiet and you sit down inside yourself and you go, oh, and this thing goes, it's okay, you're okay. That's very stress relieving. It's very helpful, but it's only a stage in a journey. If you do it long enough and you go deep enough, something can happen, which is it will tell you there is no you. You do not exist. It will go, and then you'll think, oh my God, I have arrived at truth. I am the big picture. I am all there is and I am nothing. And you'll have all this incredible awareness and you will walk around transformed on some level, but you're still in a body, you still have to shit, you still have to eat, you still have to pay the bills, you still have to do all this stuff. That's really interesting. And you have to figure that all out. And then, forgive me because I'm on the journey of getting old, that if you're lucky enough to get to that, it has its own ultimate trajectory, with which my friends and I now talk about, which is dissolution. If you dissolve without knowing who you are, it is a kind of robbery taking place. And it's kind of, you suffer dramatically the loss of everything you care about. If you have awakened at all, it's still being taken away. You may not think of it as a robbery, but I can't tell you, at least for me, that you hand it over so gently. But they are taking fundamentals away. I got a pain in my psoas nerve. You guys know I've had this IT band problem. So I've suddenly found a week ago I can't walk. I can barely walk. I can't go on the treadmill, which I do every day. Or I go for these long, many-mile walks. They're defining. That's what makes me. It gives me time to commune with the world, with everything, and I love walking. And suddenly they go, sorry, taking that away. And I'm going, whoa, but that's an identity. That's what I need. And they're going, sorry. And I'm going, wow. Well, I can still bike, so I'm on the bike. For whatever, and I'm doing all sorts of stretching exercises, which I think are good for me. And it may bring me back to walking. I'm told it will. But the intimation of what it means to not be able to walk, to not be able to get out of bed, to not get across the room, to suddenly feel really weak, to suddenly know that the things that have supported you in the past are no longer going to support you, that there is a one-way ticket out of here. That comes at you one way intellectually, and it comes at you a different way spiritually. And a large part of the unfolding of that happens in the middle of the night, because they no longer let you sleep. You're no longer going to have complete blackout. There's a lot of stuff going on in the middle of the night that you have to learn to work with. And by work with it, I mean you have to get past the point of fighting it, being angry at it, thinking that there's anything you can take to get past it. Finally, you get to a point of going, okay, and you start to learn lessons in the middle of the night. They're sort of dream lessons, because you're half in and half out. And you're starting to learn a lesson called acceptance, that the universe is no longer going to let you sleep the way you used to sleep. They're no longer going to let you walk the way you used to walk. They're not going to let you live possibly in the same house. I mean, it goes on and on. And there's a couple of responses to this. One is anger and betrayal and robbery. The other is aso. Aso. And you give it up, and you give it up, and you give it up, and in the middle of the night, you give it up all night long. Okay, 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 okay. And what's happening is you feel this programming that is freeing you from the world of story, of your story, of direction, because, you know, when you're young and you have direction, and I was very directed as a kid, I was very directed in my midlife, you know, I was very career-oriented. I wanted family and have a, you know, a wife, and I've had grandchildren, I've had all of this stuff happening. All of that, I mean, the family's still there, but the career is gone. Any attachment I've had to any of it is gone. Having dinner last night with Joshua and Evan and the kids, and they're talking about how they met, I had no recollection of it. I'm going, their story's gone. You know, they're part of my life, but I couldn't remember anything. It's just all these things are falling away, and here I am. Here I am. And get rid of the word here. I am. And that's all that's left. Period. I am. You're going to learn that in the middle of the night. You're going to learn that when you are unable to walk. You're going to learn that under endless circumstances, because as everything gets removed, there's I am. And then there's this incredible projection, which I'm going to make, and I'm not the first one to make it. When they take your breath, when they take your body, when they take your mind, and they take everything that you've ever known physically away, I believe I am still will be there. Teachers tell us that. Great teachers tell us that. I can only tell you from my own journey that appears to be where we're headed. That I am is the one true constant. You may have, those of you in my house, there's a little sign in the houses that we are living in that says, "Be still and know that I am." It comes from a longer line, "Be still and know that I am God." But this little plaque that I have says, "Be still and know that I am." You can add God if you like. But that's where we're headed. And this meditation thing, this yoga thing, this stuff that you're doing, oh, I hate sitting still. You know, it's got a directive. But that directive is not easy. It isn't completely fun. But it has an extraordinary resource, which is your own heart, your own inner being, which will sustain you and refurbish you, renew you. It will give you new life. It will free you inside. That's a benefit along the way. But it will also do this other thing, which is take you apart molecule by molecule by molecule, until you have the ultimate realization that there is a part of you that cannot be destroyed unless this is fiction, and I will allow for the possibility of that. But unless I've been proven untrue, you're going to find out for yourselves it's a good fiction, and that is that I am is the only truth. The only truth. I am. So, those of you who've stopped listening to my talks because I said I don't know who I am, God bless. Find someone who does. I will tell you that I don't know who I am, but I do know that I am. And I know that you are, and that that discovery of I am awaits us all. It's the only discovery worth making. Any questions?
Do you want to talk about Rudy's birthday?
Sure. Rudy's birthday is this week. It's the 24th of is that Wednesday?
January.
Yeah, but is it Wednesday? I think so.
Thursday.
Thursday. I kind of owe everything I have in terms of this particular journey to Rudy. There are a lot of teachers out there. I checked with a lot of them early on, and they were not people I resonated with. The minute I met Rudy, I resonated. Rudy was a straight shooter. He talked the talk. And he gave me a practice which I was devoted to, and I talk about it for 44 years until I stopped doing it, thinking I wasn't getting anywhere. Of course, the question is, where do you think you get? And what are you looking for? But there was a problem in that the I that wanted to get there was absolutely the problem in the journey. The there was always there. When are you not there? But it was the realization after 44 years of daily sitting that I had honestly presented myself to the universe at Rudy's direction as somebody who was serious about this journey. And I think, Rudy calls them the guys upstairs, I don't know what they are, something listens, something pays attention, and I felt in the end that they listened and respected the journey. I would never have been on that journey if I hadn't met Rudy and he hadn't said, you have to do this practice every day, half an hour a day at least, for the rest of your life. And one way or another, even though I don't sit exactly regularly, there's no day that goes by where I am not in the presence that that stillness presents. That's from Rudy. So I know he's not exactly your teacher necessarily, but he is the lineage from which this comes. And on Thursday, the 24th, if you want to say a special thank you, light a candle, some incense, whatever your routine might be, I would be grateful that you did that. I don't think he could care less. But I really know that to honor the source of your spiritual life is really important. And to the degree that it's a source of mine, I share that with you, and therefore there's some source material out there for you. So if you want to just say thank you on Thursday, that would be beautiful. Anybody else? Yes.
What about us doing something here on Thursday? Are you guys available?
No, we're in Los Angeles. Otherwise, I would. Yeah, we used to try to do something on all the holidays and all the different days, Rudy's birthday, etc. For years, but now because we're so bifurcated and living in different places, it's not always easy to do. But he really doesn't care. I care. But and if you express your own true feeling, somehow that's enough. That's all you need to do.
Okay. Can you talk about the importance of lineage, if it is important?
Well, somebody asked me the other day, a Rudy student, where did he learn the double breath? And this is someone who's been around for 50 years also. I said, I have no clue. I have no idea where he got it or how he taught it or why he taught it. But it is like a foundational element for me. And it feels like I would not have anything if I hadn't been given this talk by Rudy, this instruction. And then he got his teaching from Swami Nityananda, who was a great Indian guru. That lineage, it's called Kashmir Shaivism. It's not something I am rooted in. I don't study it at all. I study the impact of sitting still. For me, that's been enough. I don't need to have other people codifying it for me because I'm not trying to understand it. I'm trying to become it or be it. So lineage, in a sense, is some way of acknowledging that you are not the end-all and the be-all, that there is somehow a line of connectivity that you can be humble in the face of and feel grateful to. I find that to be an important part of a practice, that you don't walk around in any grandiose way because it's passed through eons and eons of people and possibly many manifestations of different universes, the kalpas of the Tibetans talk about. This goes back, hundreds of trillions of years, this kind of stuff. It's not like it's just happening right now for us for the first time. We are, that I know, who knows really, but all I know is that a lineage is a source of nourishment that I would say thank you to. When I had a well, and when I was living in Greece, that dried up, and I had to walk down the hill to the slaughterhouse to get water at a well down there and carry it back in 5-gallon buckets, up the hill. And at that moment, I understood gratitude toward what is available. When my well dried up, I finally understood what it meant to have water nearby and not to have to carry water up a hill. But I was even grateful for that water because you needed to drink. Lineage is gratitude to the flow and the supply of what nurtures you. And it's helpful. And not to be grateful. I live with this idea, this Rudy idea of the guys upstairs and their forces at work and all of these things going on. I don't know what any of that means really, but my instinct is they're paying attention very vividly. And we are in endless observation, if only from the truth of our own being watching us. And if you get haughty and you get proud and you think it's you, they have incredible ways of making you learn that's not the case. And you will learn, and you will be humbled, trust me, by life or by death, wherever the lesson's going to come, it will come, and you are going to be shattered by it. And I will tell you, I would rather practice slow motion shattering, which is what this is, than have it happen all at once. Because as much as that may seem like a relief, the billions of years it takes to reassemble after that, assuming you believe in Bardo states or whatever, that's a much bigger ride than this human journey, which is a total blessing. This is the place, the time, and the opportunity to figure this thing out, to just go, yes, thy will be done, and surrender. This is the time. If you do it now, you will be blessed on some level for the rest of time, maybe. And if you don't do it now, well, as according to certain teachings, Tibetan certainly, you'll come back and try it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. When do you wake up? When? Your choice. Really, your choice. Daniel?
So you won't be here next Sunday?
No, but there will be a class here next Sunday, and you're all welcome. I will tell you, I deeply recommend taking classes with other people than me for a lot of reasons. Anyone who sits here automatically is a current of energy for you. However developed that current may be, it is a real current or they wouldn't be sitting here. And when they sit here, you have to open to something other than the Bruce guy. That's a good training because in life, you have to open to people all the time. And if you can learn to open to another person in this depth, you will start to learn how to open to the other in your life. And trust me, life is filled with others. And very few of us are able to open to a single other. You know? And usually if you do it, you marry it. But the idea is to open and open and open and be connected. It's going to be painful because people come at you with a lot of stuff. And if you really open to people, you're going to, especially if you're vulnerable, you're going to feel every ounce of their suffering and their joy, but mostly their suffering because very few people have very much joy. So you have to be willing to take it on. And if you really take it on, you will be the gift of their surrender. You will be the gift. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to give, to be available to an other. I think it's the whole human journey, just to the other. So come to class and you'll learn.
Going back to your talk, could you say more about the I am and that there is no you, all that dichotomy or paradox?
Well, it only gets besmirched by talking. You know, it gets totally convoluted. There is no two. That's all I can tell you. There is only one thing, and I am that, and so are you. And it doesn't make sense in any kind of world of two until you realize that the other is yourself, and that every other is yourself, no matter how high-powered or low-reaching they may be. There is this extraordinary self out there which is becoming louder and more visible and more difficult to bear on some level because it has such a voice at this point. And you know, the world that we've known really is a world that has been modulated by people's inability to communicate other than in slow motion terms. You know, letters, direct talk. You know, we've had a world in which voices have been subdued. Now all the voices of mankind are starting to rise up simultaneously, and we're getting a photograph of, or an image of, or an auditory tape of who we are. And it's really kind of scary and disturbing to see what the world looks like really. But that's what's happening, and we're going to get more and more of that. When I say I am, I have to include it all. I cannot say I am separate from that, I am a higher version of that. It's not true. Once you open to the totality, you have to own it, and all you can do is go, aso, aso. You can't necessarily change all of it, but you can be one molecule in the totality that goes. And that is an exquisite space, and every human being could be that. If we ever in some possible way achieved that, we would be all there is awake. It would be, I mean, I don't even know what that would represent. It may already have happened, and we're just dreaming our way back to it. I don't know, but I do know that when I say I am, it is that it has nothing to do with Bruce. Okay. Thank you. Class here next week. I'll be back the week after. And Thursday is Rudy's birthday. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rudy.